The content of Kingdom of Healing with Kimberly Mateo, powered by 710 Radio, is intended for general information purposes only. It is not designed to provide listeners with specific and personal medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional services, or any advice. The programs are not meant to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Individuals with health problems should always consult their healthcare provider for professional medical advice, medications, and or treatments. Kingdom of Healing also does not promote anyone's individual practices, programs, agendas, particular treatments, healthcare programs, providers, hospitals, and or medical centers. The views expressed by show host and their guests are their own and shall not be construed in any way as advice from Kingdom of Healing. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our website. Personal perspectives expressed by the producers, writers, or editors will always be presented as such. We encourage you to always seek professional advice or care for any problems which you may have. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to the Kingdom of Healing or 710 Radio or the show hosts whose words and or opinions appear from or on this radio show.
Live on iHeartRadio, powered by 710 Radio. This is the Kingdom of Healing with Kimberly Mateo. So grab you a pen and a paper, kick your feet up, and get ready for some serious knowledge to be dropped on you. Because Kimberly Mateo is a nationally certified naturopath, master herbalist, iridologist, a nutritionist, and a holistic healer since 1977. She shares 35 plus years of knowledge and experience to listeners who are interested in learning and overcoming health challenges naturally. So without further delay, here is the host of your show, Kimberly Mateo.
Nice.
We're on. I'm sorry. We are on.
Hi, welcome back to Kingdom of Healing. This is Kimberly Mateo. I want to continue on with maybe recap some of this I've done on the last few shows on pregnancy and get into some baby care. You know, one thing that concerns me a lot is that the statistics out there for birth defects. And we live in a country where your chances of having a child that is not all finished up, may have some type of a mild problem, is about 1 in 3. So it is so important that when you're wanting to conceive, if you're planning on a child in the near future, I've talked about doing the detoxifying and getting your body cleansed and built up. Making the switch to, if you're not currently eating organically, take a look at what's in your pantry and in your refrigerator, and you'll see that a lot of these foods that are boxed foods and fast food and produce that is commercially grown with the Roundup. I mean, there's a reason why there is such a movement against Monsanto. And the birth defect rate in our country in 1960, in the United States, in 1960, was 1 in 1,000 pregnancies, that there was a child that was born that wasn't 100%. In 17 years, in 1977, it was 1 in 50. In 1985, it was 1 in 4. So you can see where this is going. The other thing is, here we are, the country of plenty, and we have such an infertility problem in our country that we see over in these other third world countries, where kind of boggles our mind that they continue to reproduce when they are in such a poor country where there's never enough clean water, there's never enough food. But these women seem to conceive much easier than American women. And there is a lot of problems with miscarriages. And a lot of this is those xenoestrogens that occur from the hormones, the chemical hormones that are sprayed on the foods, on the plants, so that they grow quicker. The other way that we get these xenoestrogens is all of these plastics. Even the plastic, your purified water in the plastic bottles. Never leave them in your car to get extremely cold or to get extremely hot during the summertime. There's chemicals that are released into that water. The other thing is the microwave. Microwaving things in plastic and styrofoam, and I've talked about that before on shows, the chemicals that are released. It's kind of like in styrofoam, you have something hot. It doesn't even have to go in the microwave. You pour hot coffee or hot chocolate or even have hot tea in that styrofoam cup. And if you catch it at the right angle, you can see where it looks like it's kind of like an oil slick, a chemical slick on the top of whatever the beverage is that you're drinking.
Right.
Those are all chemicals that are released from the styrofoam. And in that, there are xenoestrogens. And xenoestrogens go to our receptor sites, our hormone receptor sites. And then when a natural occurring hormone comes along, it's not able to get to that receptor site because there's already a hormone, a synthetic, a chemical hormone that is at that receptor site. So this is causing a lot of the problems with miscarriages. It's also causing a lot of the problems with an inability to conceive. Another problem with where you live more inland in the United States, the women along all of the coastal states tend to be, from a glandular system standpoint, healthier. They do tend to eat more fish. And yes, we've got to be careful with the amount of fish that we're consuming because our waters are so polluted. But if you have deep fish, if you eat fish that comes from deep in the sea, especially like sardines. I mean, most people don't, there's enough people out there that like them. I mean, sardines and anchovies, things like that, they're extremely high. Good sources of iodine. I've talked about kelp and the spirulina and the blue-green algae, chlorella. Those are algae that are extremely high in natural occurring iodine. And so the thyroid needs to be healthy as well. Japan discovered in the late 40s that the lack of iodine was causing cretinism. And cretinism is mental retardation from a lack of iodine.
Oh, wow, okay.
Okay, and Japan figured that out late 40s, early 50s. And the amount of iodine that they take is tenfold what the recommended daily allowance of iodine in the United States is. So I've talked about that before. Our recommended daily allowance is just kind of enough to keep us breathing and maybe walking. That's about it. So when we are dealing with situations, whether it be a health challenge or you're working on building a healthy baby, it's really important that your nutrition increases. Because after all, during pregnancy, a woman needs the nutrients necessary to form 2 extra pounds of uterine muscle, several pounds of amniotic fluid. And I talked about that in the last show about the first and the last show about consuming a gallon of water a day.
Right.
Because that amniotic fluid changes. It replaces itself every 24 hours. So it's extremely important. And then I'm not talking about water out of the tap. I'm not talking about drinking water that's full of chlorine, and then they use so much ammonia in it to cut the chlorine taste. Because, a lot of times when I'm sitting down working with people and I'll ask them how much water they drink, they don't drink a lot of water because of just having tap water. And I think that it really is your taste buds pick up on that chlorine and ammonia, and there's so many different chemicals that they use to manipulate the water, and we still, even after that process of the municipal water, there's still over 200 pathogens that are still in that water. Okay, so it is important to buy a water purification system. It is important to buy bottled water. It's just something that in this day and age you have to, and you've got to come to terms with it. My preference is the alkaline water machine, and if you go to the Facebook page Kingdom of Healing, there is a link there where you can read about it and look it over. It's $8.95. It's completely, totally worth it. I've had my unit now for quite a while, and we love it. And we did get the extra purification, the extra filters, the 3 filters that run the water through that before it goes into the alkaline water machine. But you can take a look at some of the cost of the alkaline water machines out there, and they're going to run anywhere from $1,200 to $4,200.
Wow.
And I paid $189 for my unit, and it does everything that the $4,200 unit does. So you can find that on the Kingdom of Healing Facebook page. There's a link there for the alkaline water. And make sure that you're consuming enough water to carry enough oxygen through the cells to your unborn child. And that, when you have enough oxygen being carried in the cells, that takes care of bacteria and viruses that you're exposed to. And one thing I want to mention is, we've got a lot of, there's a lot of viruses. There's women that conceive that carry hepatitis C, women who have herpes. Those viruses can be very devastating. A virus can do a lot of horrible things to your unborn child. So for the case of herpes, it is my suggestion always with women, is what I recommend, is that they use the super algae, which covers not only the protein that they need, but that protein breaks down into amino acids. And what I have them do is add the L-lysine, 500 milligrams, at least 2 times a day, so that you can make sure that you do not have an outbreak of herpes. And you know what? And it's not just venereal herpes. Herpes simplex 1, cold sores. Cold sores are herpes simplex 1 that you get on your mouth.
Okay.
A breakout of even herpes simplex 1 can be devastating to an unborn child.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's just, it can be as dangerous as herpes simplex 2. Now, if you have herpes simplex 2, 9 times out of 10, that is always a cesarean delivery. They do not allow you to deliver vaginally if you have herpes, the sexually transmitted disease that is the herpes simplex 2.
Okay.
But you have to make sure that you keep your system, your body, healthy enough that you don't have an outbreak. You don't get worn down. You don't do without drinking enough water. You don't get into very stressful situations. You need a lot of B-complex. You need a lot of good quality water. The super algae combination, 2 of those twice a day with 1 L-lysine twice a day, 500 milligrams. And the reason that you want to make sure that, like with the B-complex and with your amino acids, there's a delicate balance within the body. And if you are just, say, supplementing your diet with just, say, B12 for energy, and you're not taking a B-complex, you throw that B-complex out of balance in the body. You do the same thing with the amino acids if you're not eating enough protein, but you're taking a supplement, whether it be L-lysine or, L-glutamine, something like that. You want to take it in its whole form. So its whole food form is, my preference is using the super algae combination, which you can find on kingdomofhealing.com. Go to the search bar, you can put in super algae. That'll bring it up. There is spirulina, there's red algae, blue-green algae, red marine, there's chlorella. It's a wonderful, wonderful combination. The other thing that can be taken if you carry a virus within your body is the silver. But, here can be a problem with the silver. I'm not talking about taking a colloidal silver that you have a machine that you make your own silver. And I've talked about that before on the show. Silver attracts oxygen, and it makes its way through the wall of the cell, and it carries that oxygen into the cell, where that oxygen burns up viruses and bacteria. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're using something that is tested in a lab to make sure that that silver is not out of balance and too high. We talked before about the blue guy that was all over the television in like 2008, and he was blue.
Oh, yes, he was.
He had been making his own colloidal silver at home and had been drinking it for years. He ultimately passed away.
Yes.
But the Silver Shield, the Silver Sol, that product is a nanotechnology that there has been millions of dollars spent on the research on that particular product. And that silver, I can guarantee you, is safe. I wouldn't give it to my family if it wasn't safe. And I wouldn't recommend it to you if it wasn't safe.
Right.
But I'm not one of those that I'm not going to go out and buy a machine. I've had people show me where they've made their own colloidal silver, and they hold that up into a glass mason jar, a 32-ounce mason jar, and there's particles floating around in it. And it looks kind of gray. And it's like, no, thank you. I am not taking that home to give to my family. I wouldn't give it to my animals, and you shouldn't be taking it either.
Very interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of products out there that one thing I can assure you is that with a $300,000 lab, there's not anything that gets by that testing with the company that is going to be harmful to your health. So they wouldn't have the place and the respect as well amongst their peers. A lot of other nutritional manufacturing companies have a lot of respect for the company of the products that I use. And They have set the standards. That is the company that set the standards for some of the standards that other companies do with quality control testing. But I can assure you they don't have a $300 million lab to do their testing in. So silver is perfectly safe, a teaspoon twice a day if you are pregnant. But like I said, I'm not talking about doing any silver. And, when it comes to pregnancy, you have to be very, very careful about what you're ingesting.
Oh, yes.
And so the only one that I can recommend that I know is 100% safe is that product. The other thing is, not only with that, with pregnancy, the other thing is our blood supply increases by 50% when you're pregnant. There's a 50% increase in blood volume. There's also extra work on the liver and the kidneys because they need to process waste from not only from you, but the baby as well. So it's kind of like last show I talked about, there used to be an old wives' tale that, well, everything that you eat, if you don't eat enough, it's all going to go to the baby. It's going to go to the baby first. That's not true. That's not true.
No.
Your body is going to take it first. And your baby is not going to have the nutrients that it needs to develop properly. So
that's kind of backwards how they...
Yeah, how they thought that. Yeah. So, so you are processing everything for the baby as well. So there's an extra burden on the kidneys.
Makes sense. I mean, because you have to process it before it goes down the umbilical cord to feed the baby.
Exactly.
Right?
And your body is going to take what it needs first.
Right. No, I don't.
And whatever's left over is going to go to the baby. Well, 40, 50 years ago, they figured it all went to the baby. It's like, no, it doesn't. The other thing is, you've got to make sure that, the nutrients that you're taking in, those extra nutrients and the quality of the food that you're eating. Hemp seed is a wonderful protein, and it has a lot of essential fatty acids, and it's coconut oil would be a good idea, with the good fats in that medium chain essential fatty acid. It's always absorbed. Non-GMO, organic coconut oil, a teaspoon of it, either a teaspoon right directly in your mouth twice a day, or mix it up into something, or preferably do some juicing and use that as an extra boost of nutrients. There's wonderful protein drinks that'll help step up that protein, the Love and Peas, the Nature's Harvest. They're vegan, they're gluten-free. They enhance the protein as well as a lot of other nutrients, a combination of nutrients that you need. So it's good to kind of fill in between meals, just that extra blast of nutrition. The thing is to stay away from sugar, because while the bones are forming, every cell in the body needs amino acids, but all of the tissue in the body needs the presence of calcium. And if you have a diet that is high in sugar, white sugar, soda, anything at all that is, a lot of candy in your diet, sugar robs not only calcium, it displaces the calcium. So if you're taking calcium supplements, but you have a diet that's high in sugar, you're not absorbing that calcium. The other thing is you're also paralyzing the immune system. And one thing that's very safe, and I recommend for women to make sure that that they stay healthy while they're pregnant, is the probiotic 11. And to take 2 to 4 of those with a half a cup of water before they go to bed. at night, so that everything, all of that good bacteria, colonizes in throughout the gut, and that's where the majority of the immune system is at. It also, if you're dealing with an illness, like I was talking about, herpes or hepatitis C or any type of an illness, and you are pregnant, it's important to keep your immune system as strong as you can. And I'm going to go through some of the things that you cannot take. You have to make sure that you do not consume while you're pregnant. But just quality nutrition, I cannot stress enough with, the building of forming those bones and muscles, skin, the glandular system, the nervous system. And, the coconut oil feeds and strengthens that autonomic nervous system, which is going to feed the brain and feed and build a good nervous system within the body. Quality of the nutrients and supplements so that you're building strong, vital organs so that your baby is as healthy as possible. Your body requires larger than normal amounts of protein and good fats, vitamins, minerals. If you're not eating a good enough diet, or you have refined and processed foods, you're probably going to deal with off and on not feeling too well throughout your pregnancy or getting sick. It's normal in that first trimester to be tired all the time. You've got a lot of things going on in your body, and so rest is a way for the body to direct a lot of those nutrients that it needs in order to be up and around and functioning. If you're resting, your body's directing that where it needs to be. Instead of using it up. We use 20% of our body energy of nutrients just to see.
Oh, wow.
20%.
Wow.
Okay, so that's something to think about. A pregnant woman needs to take extra good care of her body by consuming a lot of organic fresh fruits and vegetables. Meats that you choose, they need to be grass-fed. They need to be hormone-free. We're seeing more and more of that in the stores. The prices are pretty high on the naturally raised meat. If you live, what I would suggest is taking a drive out into the country. You'll be surprised at the signs that you pass. I mean, they're getting $4, $4 and $5 a dozen for organic eggs at the grocery store. You can still take a drive out in the country and find little signs posted by driveways where you can still get organic, free-range, chickens as well as eggs for a couple dollars a dozen. The chickens, a lot of times, if they're naturally raising those chickens, you can stop right there and talk with them. A lot of times they have roaster chickens, or they have cattle that they, don't have a whole lot, but they are at least raising some naturally, and you can buy a quarter beef or a half a beef.
Right.
That comes out over the long run. Initially up front, it can be a little costly.
Right,
but when you figure it all out, you're paying less per pound than you are at the store. And that's certainly something that you can do if you financially, if you can. Otherwise, to some people, that's just not something that can be done. So that's when I recommend that pay attention to those circulars for Sprouts grocery stores. Pay attention to Trader Joe's circulars, Whole Foods circulars. Pay attention to your local grocery store circulars. And when they have organic meat on sale, buy as much as you can and double wrap it and date it and put it in the freezer. Buy extra when it's on sale. So I think that really you'll find that once you start cutting the boxed meals out, you cut out buying soda pop, I mean, that stuff's not cheap.
No,
Wow, I don't buy it.
I don't know.
And it's
I
not
haven't-
cheap. I cruise by it in the grocery store, and it's like, really? You're going to spend that much money for that? And it's terrible for your body. And there's plenty of information out there. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. And the other thing you need to be avoiding is alcohol. 1 or 2 cups of coffee in the morning is okay, but not a couple of pots of coffee. It's very acidic. No, it's very acidic. And again, it puts that pH into an acid level where I've said this before, and it's very important for you to remember this, is that if your pH is not in balance, if you're not coming in at a 6.5 at the lowest, the best level would be 7.0, and 7.5 is just amazing. If your first urine of the morning is 7.5, I am proud of you. You are doing the work. You're doing what it takes. You earn health. If your mother was very conscientious and you were born healthy and wonderful and didn't deal with a lot of health problems, that's about the only time that you're guaranteed good health. But you get out into this world with the air and the soil that they're growing commercially grown food in, and you're not paying attention to organic, your health starts to diminish. So, you want to stay away from, white sugar. No white sugar. You can have honey. You can have non-GMO organic cane sugar, because most of the white sugar, and I've talked about this before too, is made from beets. It's beet sugar. The beets are GMO.
Well, I got to take. I mean, this is my own personal story. So, I told you a while back that I had cut the white sugar out.
Uh-huh.
And so I think it's been close to a year now that I've had it. I have not touched it. No soda pops, no
candy and
no.
fruit, yeah.
But and then I started using that pure cane sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I'm probably been on that for about 9 months, maybe 10. But 2-pound box has lasted me this whole time.
See, there you go.
And I feel so much better.
Uh-huh.
I could tell,
Right.
how I felt with all that white sugar, and I cut out the white flour, I cut out the white sugar.
Yes.
I've never really eaten white bread, so I don't worry about that part. I didn't have problems. But I got to tell you, it is amazing how different you feel.
Exactly. And the white flour, that's the next one. That needs to go. No white flour in your diet. Shortening. You don't like Crisco, No, nothing like that. Margarine. Tobacco. Commercially fried foods. They're all deep fried. A lot of them in canola oil.
Oh, okay.
And canola oil, it comes from the rapeseed, which is toxic, and it is also the rapeseed is genetically modified.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
The same with corn oil.
Who wants to eat something that's called rape?
A rapeseed. Well, that's canola, and canola. You even see
It kinda
canola
makes sense.
blended.
It rapes your cells.
Yes, it sure does.
So yeah, it's kind of fitting. I guess.
Abnormal. It alters genetically modified food. It does change our DNA. There was a study out in the Netherlands where scientists did a study on it, and it does change our DNA. So, and we're going to take 3 generations to correct that. It takes 3 generations to correct. Yeah. So simple diet. fruits, vegetables, lean meat, pure water, teas, supplements. You can add, like with the Love and Peas, the Nature's Harvest is a wonderful green drink. It is probably the most palatable green drink I have ever tasted. And I've got to warn you, if you like green drinks, that Nature's Harvest, it's addicting.
Is it?
It is addicting. You find yourself craving, wanting that drink. It is absolutely delicious. And it's called Nature's Harvest. The other one is of natural vanilla, the Love and Peas, and it uses the young yellow peas, which is very, very high in protein. But it's important to supplement, and a lot of times, doing a green drink or doing some type of a protein drink, you got to be careful. You don't want protein drinks out there. There's absolutely the fake sugars. Do not pass your lips while you're pregnant. None of those diet drinks, no diet foods, no diet sugars. They actually are excitotoxins, and excitotoxins damage the nervous system. And so you're trying to build a healthy baby with, a very healthy, wonderful nervous system, a healthy brain. And the best way to do that is with your good fats. And coconut oil. You can go back to about a year and a half ago. I think it took 3 shows just to get through coconut oil on the benefits of coconut oil. Did that a year and a half ago.
I do have a question. Patient that I went to go see this week makes her own suppositories, and she uses coconut oil as the base.
Yeah, those melt pretty quick. You got to be pretty fast on the draw because that melts pretty quick. Okay, so you got to build that up with yes.
That she used coconut oil as the base.
Yeah, and then I'm sure puts a lot of herbs into that. That LBS too. When my handicapped son, who would have been 39 this January the 22nd. He was 12 when he passed away, and he had multiple problems because of having a stroke in utero. And since he didn't really move around, it was quite a chronic problem with him, with his bowels. And I would make suppositories with glycerin and olive oil, and then the LBS2s. LBS2s, open and empty a couple of capsules into that using a small amount of olive oil and glycerin, and make it until it was stiff. And then take those and roll those into little cylinders that were not any bigger than his little finger. And then keep them in the refrigerator. And those worked fabulous for stimulating and triggering that peristaltic action of the bowel so that it would move everything through. So we've got to be careful, though, with pregnancy with things that trigger peristaltic action, because the uterus goes into that squeezing and relaxing motion, and we don't want to do anything that could trigger a miscarriage or early labor. Right. So some of those to avoid is you don't want to take during, and they can actually be dangerous, is taking, cascara. Drinking aloe vera internally is too cleansing for pregnancy. The cordyceps mushrooms, you don't want to take those while you're pregnant. No Dong Quai. That's because of hormone balancing, and we don't want to get into any of that, messing with that while while a woman is pregnant. Animu, black cohosh, blue cohosh. The black and the blue cohosh have their place during labor and delivery, and that lasts 5 weeks. I talked about that 5W.
Right.
And you can take 5W, but once that lasts 5 weeks. But once you know you are in active labor, when you have a sign that you're in active labor, you don't take any more 5W until you get to either the hospital or a midwife gets to your house or whoever you're going to use to deliver your child. You don't take any of that 5W until you're in that safe place, because you will inface and dilate so quickly that you might have your child at home or in the car.
Yeah.
I almost had my son in the car, my third, because I had a tea with red raspberry and some an extract of like the 5W in that, and I only took a couple sips, and I mean literally a couple of sips, and wham!
Wow.
I went into very hard labor. It was. It's not a fun ride to the hospital when that's going on.
Well, I bet.
It's like I said at the last show, my husband kept stopping at lights at 3:30 in the morning, and it's like, run this light, So what? Policeman shows up, he's going to escort us. Another thing is I've talked a lot in past shows about that pawpaw cell reg, which shuts down the energy-producing part of the cell and is very, very beneficial when you're dealing with health problems where you have abnormal cells that are stealing your health quickly. So pawpaw cell reg is something that you absolutely never take while you're pregnant or even in the early trimester if you think you're pregnant. That is not something that should be used. Jasmine essential oil. Don't even put it on your body. Any cleanses, those need to be done before you get pregnant. Okay. No cleanses while you're pregnant. No parasite combinations that would kill parasites in the body. So no herbal pumpkin, no artemisia combination, no paracleanse, nothing like that while you're pregnant. There's glandular herbs that increase progesterone are fine because progesterone helps a woman to stay pregnant. So progesterone cream, just a very small amount of that, is safe if you have had a problem being what is called a natural habitual aborter. Now, that doesn't mean that you've had abortions. That means that your body has a hard time carrying a baby. So, the pregnancy usually ends in a miscarriage. And that is due to progesterone levels being too low. So if you've had a history of that, then that is safe to use. I talked about the herb false unicorn. False unicorn is very safe to use throughout that first and second trimester if you've had a history of miscarriages. So kind of back to, building this healthy baby. I cannot express enough how important coconut oil is, and it's wonderful to have, and it's not only good for your skin and to take it internally, but it's excellent for your immune system. It's antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal. That probiotic 11, if you tend to have a problem off and on with yeast infections, that is something that is very good to use, the probiotic 11, to keep that candida under control, as well as the coconut oil helps with that as well. Chemicals are the major cause with birth defects and health problems in infants. So pregnant women need to be really, really careful on consuming the foods that are crop dusted. This is why I can't express enough how important it is to consume organic produce. A lot of these pesticides and herbicides, they are very high in these xenoestrogens, and they can trigger miscarriages. Pregnant women need to be very careful to use only natural, non-toxic household products. You'd be really shocked at how awful a lot of these household cleaning products are. We've got a product called Sunshine, Nature's Fresh and Sunshine Concentrate. And that Sunshine Concentrate can be used to clean everything. If you get the alkaline water machine, there's an acid level on that. One is good for skin. The other one is for skin conditions. And the higher acidic level is amazing. You don't need to use anything in that other than just the water. It cleans mirrors, it disinfects and cleans countertops. So, and you're doing it with just water.
Wow.
But water is the most amazing solvent. It's the number one solvent is water. And so, but just by using that in the high acid level will clean things. You can also, vinegar in water is another way to clean very well. A lot of chemicals and not enough protein in the diet leads a lot to morning sickness, toxemia, and some of the other problems that can occur with pregnancy. During pregnancy, health problems that will, during pregnancy. Traditional cultures have used foods for pregnant women to ensure healthy babies. Supplements can do the same. Megadoses of vitamins and minerals aren't really wise, though. I mean, there's the Nature's Prenatal vitamin that we have. There are no minerals and trace minerals in it. I always suggest to women to use the skeletal strength combination. If if you've got kind of real weak nails, spotted nails, little white spots on your nails, or if your nails during pregnancy indent or have kind of a ripple look to them, that's a sign of malnutrition. So if you're eating real well and you are taking supplements, but you've got that kind of wavy, ripply look on your nails or a deep indentation, like at the cuticles or the nail bed, that is malnutrition. So your pH is probably below 6.5. And all of those good nutrients that you're taking, your body is not able to absorb them. You're not uptaking those nutrients. Because remember, I've said you need to be 6.5 to 7.5 to uptake your iodine and your calcium and your magnesium and your B complex and your fat soluble, your A, your D, your E. You've got to have that pH range within the 6.5 to 7.5 to uptake and utilize all of these good nutrients that you're taking while you're pregnant. Otherwise, it's just a waste of your money. So, pineapple, good way to bring that pH up. Broccoli, kale, spinach, lemon water. And lemon water is perfectly fine to take throughout pregnancy to keep that pH up into balance. One thing to help with the morning sickness is equal parts of red raspberry leaf and alfalfa leaves. Alfalfa, again, father of all, not mother of all, father of all the minerals and trace minerals. You can also do, if you deal a little bit with nausea, you can add a little spearmint leaf and do equal amount of spearmint, alfalfa, and red raspberry leaves. Make sure they're all organic, and blend them in equal portions, and you can use that as a tea and drink that. Ginger works real well for nausea during pregnancy, because those morning sickness medications are. I've talked about those as well. I took one called Bendictin when I was pregnant with my second son, who had the massive stroke. Bendictin caused strokes. Yeah, that's why it's not on the market. It was a major lawsuit. A lot of babies were born like my son was. But I was busy taking care of a handicapped child. It went by me. I didn't find out until years later. I was talking to somebody. They said, wait a minute. There was like this huge lawsuit in the late 70s. And it's like, really? Yeah, well, I missed that one. Making sure that your diet is simple and quality is the best thing that you can do to assure that you're going to have a baby as healthy as possible. There's also the Ultimate Green Zone. I don't think it tastes as good as the Nature's Harvest, but the Green Zone also is another drink that you can add into your diet. All of these drinks do have grains that have no gluten in them, so you are able to get the benefit of a whole grain quality diet and quality protein. Good fats. I cannot impress upon you enough how important doing like the coconut oil is for developing the brain and the nervous system. It needs good fats. Omega-3 fatty acids have been shown to reduce also the risk for women to develop that preeclampsia. And a good enough essential fatty acids in your diet also prevents postpartum depression and early labor as well. So having those good fats in your diet. Deep ocean fish, walnuts, flaxseed oil, hemp seed or hemp seed oil, avocados. Avocados are wonderful, full of wonderful good fats. Coconut oil, organic butter from grass-fed cows. Those are good sources of fat for pregnancy. The modern agricultural practices, the population as a whole is deficient in minerals. The other thing with that waviness of the nail bed, which denotes malnutrition in a pregnant woman, we have the trace mineral maintenance. And that's a good size bottle, and it is maybe 380 count. It used to be 450. I think it's like 380. It doesn't cost that much. It's very, very inexpensive. And for women who need to take extra minerals while they're pregnant, they can take 4 of those tablets, and they're not real big tablets. They're very easy to swallow. Tablets, 4 of those twice a day. 2 skeletal strength, two times a day. The Nature's Prenatal, take it as directed. There's 800 micrograms of folic acid. So in the prevention of things with like spina bifida, where the spine does not close all the way, and determined by how far up the spine is open, is going to determine how crippled the child will be. The farther up the spine. Yeah. So spina bifida is 100% treatable, and it comes from a lack of folic acid. That's why it's so important that if you've got a vitamin that you like taking, take a look at the back of it. If it does not have 800 micrograms of folic acid in it, then you need to go to thekingdomofhealing.com and buy a bottle of the folic acid. It's 400 micrograms per tablet. And make sure that you're taking that extra one, because something as devastating, crippling as spina bifida is, it is preventable.
Wow.
So it's so important. What's nice about a planned pregnancy is you're always anticipating that next month you're pregnant, and you're really on your game as far as your nutrition and all the nutrients and stuff. And sometimes the pregnancies that you're caught by surprise, a lot of times women don't find out until they're 6-8 weeks. Well, the first trimester is the first 3 months. So you can see when you're when you've I don't want to say diagnosed, because it's not a disease. Pregnancy is not a disease. But when you find out when you find out that you're pregnant, like I said, it's 6 to 8 weeks. So you're already a month and a half into that first trimester. And that is the most crucial, delicate time of a pregnancy, is that first trimester.
Wow, okay.
And that is really when those nutrients need to be there, because that lack of the nutrients and eating a lot of foods that aren't desirable foods to build a healthy baby, they can cause problems with your unborn child. And some things are not correctable. Even when they're still in the womb, they're not correctable. So, I talked about the teas. Other great ways to get minerals into the body is we have the colloidal minerals. An ounce of that twice a day if you don't want to swallow 4 twice a day of the tablets. And it's always easier to swallow it down, in a liquid source than to swallow all those capsules and tablets. But, you want to make sure that you have a generous intake of minerals, because we're minerals first. We're made from the dust of the earth. If you take the ashes of Dr. Jensen did that. He had some ashes of some remains analyzed, and then comparing that readout of those minerals, it was identical to a fertile clump of soil.
Wow.
So we are minerals first. And like a B complex, if you're in a real stressful life, relationship, those B vitamins are water soluble. And that means that your body is going to use what it needs, and it's going to throw off the rest. It's very different than taking extremely high levels of vitamin A. And vitamin D, we find that, what the recommended daily allowance was just a pittance of what the body needed.
Wow.
We need to take 2 to 4 to 6,000 IUs of D3 in order to strengthen the immune system and to make sure that bone structure is strong. And I've talked about this, I think, before on past shows where, I've had those people throughout the years that's like, yeah, well, when I was a kid, I got ran over by a tractor. My uncle backed the car out and ran the car over me, and they didn't break a bone. It was that cod liver oil that their grandma or their mom used to force them to drink, and that was some nasty tasting stuff. But I'll tell you what, it built some good bone structure, good, dense, strong bones. And it's what we do in our childhood years, being born healthy, all the nutrients that we need to be born finished up, good, adequate fats and quality food in our diet, and good quality calcium. when we're young, because we don't go through lives of being deficient of all of that and think that we're going to build up that good storage in our 30s. It doesn't work that way. So unfortunately, when you hear about someone who falls and they break their hip and they can't recover from that at age 50, 60, 70, 80, they didn't have the good, strong bone structure to begin with. Okay, so just, to add more minerals into the diet, you can add like colloidal minerals to that. Liquid dulse, D-U-L-S-C, liquid dulse. That's for the thyroid. It's a good source of iodine. And the baby needs iodine as well, and we need iodine to burn up that metabolic waste. So if every 24 hours we're changing that amniotic fluid and waste is being carried off through the liver and the kidneys, we've got to make sure that that iodine level is up. So, because it's the waste burner. Okay.
Very interesting.
So,
Man.
okay, good things to, another thing is that Herbal IX is excellent to keep your iron level up. Drinking chlorophyll keeps the stomach calm, takes care of nausea, keeps the pH in balance. Liquid chlorophyll. Liquid chlorophyll has all of the components to make healthy hemoglobin. And I've talked about it before. The center atom of chlorophyll is magnesium. Our central atom is of our bloodstream is iron. Chlorophyll is the blood of the plant.
Okay.
That's where that comes from. Bone broth soup is excellent if you can get the bones from organic bones. You can make soups from that, but those need to be steeped and simmered. Not steeped, simmered. Steeped is when you shut off the heat and move it to the back of the stove and let it sit. Simmer. You need to simmer, if you've got like an organic chicken, the whole chicken, and you want to make like a good chicken broth, you're going to simmer that for a couple of days to extract all those minerals and trace minerals out of the bones. And it's the same with beef soup bones. Couple of days. And you can do that in a crock pot. Works really, really well. And just keep adding purified water to that. But you're going to simmer that for a couple of days. And then the nutrients in that is absolutely vital to the body. So it's a quality source of nutrition. Well, that is all we have for today. Next week, I will definitely get through supplements to avoid during pregnancy, because there's quite a list of them. And then we're going to get into talking about some of the things to do with keeping your baby a well baby. And in the meantime, you might want to do some searching on the internet. Dr. Blaylock, I've talked about Dr. Russell Blaylock before, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, and there's a lot of controversy with vaccinations. And I am a mother and a grandma that did not vaccinate. And I have wonderful, healthy children and grandchildren. And so I'm going to touch on that a little bit, but there is information out there by people who are respected, they're highly respected in their field, and they put two and two together. They did not turn their head. They didn't look away when patients of theirs were having symptoms and problems. after vaccinations. And so it's there's a lot of controversy with that, but and we'll talk about how to keep those babies healthy and quality milk next week. So until then, take care. God bless. Have a wonderful